So we have with us from that end over there. Yes, now Apurva Prabhu. So His Grace Apurva Prabhu joined the movement in 1972 and 71, and also we also have his wife Kamalini Mataji, who's a lifelong Sankirtan devotee.
Distributing books
distributing
up to the
books
present day.
Up to the present day. And Apurva Prabhu is one of the well-known cooks in our movement. Mukunda Datta Prabhu, who joined the movement in 1975 and was also part of the Radha Damodar, the historical Radha Damodar party. And he joined at the age of 14. Yeah. And
he distributed a lot of books.
He distributed a lot of books. He distributed a lot of books and is involved in book publication till this present day. So Mukundatta Prabhu is a well-known scholar within our movement. Dharmatma Prabhu joined in 1972, also a well-known Sankirtan devotee, led Sankirtan parties in out of New Vrindavan. Yeah, several. He was a Sankirtan leader, and then to his left is His Grace Mrigendra Prabhu, who joined in 1971. He used to lead a Sankirtan party out of Chicago initially at the airport. Yeah.
And was BBT.
Oh, Hare Krishna Airport.
And BBT, right?
Yeah, he's the main attorney for the BBT, and
you weren't in charge of it. That was Mahindra, was it?
Yeah, the Mahendra is somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I get a little bit mixed up there.
to the right of Kamalini Mataji is Her Grace Pavani Mataji, also a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and Sankirtan devotee till this day. In Los Angeles, she goes out on books. Mahotsav Prabhu, when you went to Los Angeles, yeah, you distributed books. So Mahotsav Prabhu has had the good fortune of seeing Mataji distribute books and learning from her, and mostly back in the 1970s, but still going strong. And then we have His Grace Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu. To the left of Mrigendra Prabhu. Prabhu joined in 1973 in Atlanta. Prabhu is an Atlanta devotee. And I just found out today that Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu said one of the main reasons he joined was because of another Atlanta devotee here, His Grace Amogalila Prabhu. So Amogalila Prabhu joined in Atlanta in 1972. 71. I'm getting all numbers mixed up here. Okay, sorry. I thought I noted it right. But 1971. And also has been preaching Krishna consciousness vigorously his whole life. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu, you served as temple president in Atlanta and in Philadelphia. Yeah.
And in Atlanta during its heyday of book distribution, and was leading by example in distributing books. And we're missing your lifelong friend. We're missing your lifelong friend Charudeshna Prabhu, who passed away just, 5 months ago? 6 months ago.
His Grace Charudeshna Prabhu ki
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Charudeshna Prabhu remains one of the greatest inspirations for Krishna life devotees. The last year's marathon in 2023 was held in his honor. Huh? Yeah, it was our biggest marathon ever. And, it happened by the blessings of Charudeshna Prabhu. And then we have another Atlanta devotee. Well, kind of. It's Chicago and then to Atlanta, but yeah. Shiki Mahiti Prabhu, who joined in 1974 in Chicago. He joined in Chicago. And oh, Mrigendra Prabhu was your Sankirtan leader. Wow. Okay. See, that's amazing.
I went to Radha, I think it was going to be easier, and I came back. That was good.
He was easier than Radha Damodar?
No, he was easier.
He was easier.
Put me in anyway. Don't hold on the story.
Okay.
He didn't want me. He wanted me back in Chicago. So he said, "Nah, you're going back to Chicago. You're going to suffer."
And then to Shiki Maiti Prabhu's left is His Grace Brigupati Prabhu, who joined in 1973. Perhaps the devotee in the movement who's distributed the most number of books in.
Oh, must be. Must be.
Yeah, must be the devotee who's over. Actually, according to Prabhu's estimates, it's over a million books. Yeah. So, sadhu. Hare Krishna. And then we have Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj, who joined the movement in 1975.
And I just talk, that's all.
So,
And the others, I get the others to do all the work.
Maharaj needs no introduction here, but he's the main source of inspiration for all of us, and is also a Sankirtan devotee who distributed books in England, Bangladesh, India, Thailand, Nepal, Malaysia,
Ireland, Malaysia.
Atlanta, yeah. Australia also, once.
Yeah, I did a few books, handful. I met you first time in somewhere in Australia. Was that Melbourne? I don't know, somewhere. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagarna Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutang Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagarna Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I'm supposed to say a few introductory words, but I'll say something which is suitable to say at the end of the festival. Actually, the festival never ends because the spiritual world is Nitya Mahotsava, an eternal festival. But the real effect of this festival will be seen in devotees who have attended, becoming more inspired to distribute books, in actual distribution of books, those who are committed to book distribution to make their resolve stronger. And we get inspiration, by association with those who are inspired. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. According to our association, our desires develop. Sange Shakti Kalo Yuge, in Kali Yuga, we get strength from association. We're most blessed to have the association of devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord all over the world, especially in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books. And we can look forward to maybe 50 years from now, and all of you are sitting there, will be sitting here, and there'll be few young devotees asking, how do we distribute books when everyone's already got at least 3 sets in their home? Okay, take it away. When will that day come? Every home in America, you were quoting this morning.
So, this question is from Mukunda Datta Prabhu. Prabhu, this is from your class. Can you hear me? This question for you, this is from your class that you gave earlier today. You were speaking about having that sattvic faith. So in which category does a faith for, distributing these books? Because we always want to expand this book distribution more and more and more. So what category of faith does that come under? And because it may seem like passion. Many people just accuse book distributors for being, you guys are just in the mode of passion, that's why you're doing this. Like the only reason you're expanding your book distribution because you're just passionate. It's actually not sattvic.
Yeah.
So what's the what's the proper way of delivering?
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. It looks like devotional service is the mode of passion, but Rupa Goswami says that if our only business is to engage our minds and our bodies and our words in pure devotion to Krishna, then we have to be considered to be liberated souls even while living. Because devotional service can resemble the mode of goodness, it can resemble the mode of passion, it can even resemble the mode of ignorance, but it's actually nirguna. So that faith which inspires devotees to persevere, as all these devotees have, decade after decade, in following Srila Prabhupada's instructions and distributing his books and training up a new generation to do the same thing, that has to be considered to be Shuddha Sattva Guna, completely transcendental, nirguna.
Arjuna. Yeah, Arjuna wanted to be sattvic, right? Krishna told him, you fool, you rascal, fight! Vamanasmara yudhyacha.
I would venture to say even a little further is because that instruction is coming from Prabhupada. So his instructions are not ignorance, passion, or goodness. They're transcendental. And if you carry out that instruction, how can it all of a sudden turn into passion? It started off transcendental, it stays transcendental. It may look like passion, it may look like ignorance or those things, but it's from Prabhupada, so it's always transcendental. And the fact is, when you do it, you become purified as a result because it is transcendental. So you can't contaminate the instruction. Even though you may be contaminated, I may be contaminated, but it'll purify us. That's like the fire. You put anything to that fire, it consumes it. So if you stay in that fire, then you become transcendental. If you step out of it, then you're not transcendental. Now you're passion, ignorance, and all those things. You go right back to what you were before. So that's mine.
So like anything else, let's say you're cooking and out of ignorance you don't put in sugar, you put in salt and a daily sweet. You cannot then say, well, I was ordered by my guru to be a cook, therefore my activity is transcendental. So we take personal responsibility for everything we do, and we still can, even though the activity itself, when done purely, is totally transcendental, by our own problems, we could cause problems. So not that we say, I did something and the result was bad, and therefore, well, it's okay, it's transcendental. Like we used to, in Chicago, all the time, devotees would get into fights. And it was a rough neighborhood. And we used in places like in Dallas, which was a heavy Bible Belt area, if you just went on Harinam Sankirtan with shaved heads, they would throw bottles at you, they would spit at you. Okay. So anyways, the point is, when you're doing book distribution, the activity itself is transcendental, but you still have to be careful what you're doing. See, you're trying to do it in pure goodness. You're not just going to do any old thing and act negligently or stupid. You have to do everything correctly, just like a cook has to make sure follow recipes.
I'll give you two examples. One, and you can all correct me if I'm off, is that a lady wrote to Srila Prabhupada complaining about the Sankirtan devotees. Not a devotee, but a Karmi lady. And then Prabhupada apologized. My students are a little overzealous. And he apologized. He acknowledged her concern, and then he tried to explain that they're young and they're fired up, they're enthusiastic. The other one is actually more appropriate to here in Atlanta, because I was there when the airport first started. Of course, my mentor, Moga Leela, was there before me. But when we started doing the Atlanta airport, it was something new, headed by Charudeshna, and the enthusiasm was spilling out all over the airport, because we had free reign. We could just run anywhere we wanted to, all over the airport. The one, oh, we just go through. So what happened was, devotees were, again, overzealous. Not Charudeshna. Charudeshna was special. I mean, of course, we still miss him, but he was special. But a lot of us were just running here and there, running. And then the Mr. Stogner, who was the chief at the airport, he knew me quite well. And he would come to me and say, Tillman, can't you talk to your people? And I would talk to the devotees. But then we lost the airport. And from what I remember, Srila Prabhupada said, you lost the airport because you failed to respect the businessman. You agitated the businessmen, because they would go and complain to the authorities. So we just thought, hey, we're just distributing books. It's for Srila Prabhupada. Of course it's for Srila Prabhupada. But as Prabhu is saying, you have to use our intelligence, whoever we're talking to, because my training in Sankirtan was go preach. I said, Balavanta, I want to be trained by Tripurari. He said, no, go and preach. And I would just remember this one class that Rameshwar gave, and he said, going on Sankirtan is like giving little small Bhagavatam classes all day. So that's always been my mindset, just whoever I'm talking to, where are you from, what do you do, and then explain a little bit of Krishna consciousness to them, but be respectful to the people that we deal with. To me, that solves the problem. Just take time and be respectful to the person.
You remember that letter that was sent? Because there was a certain point in time when the book distribution was really, it was a numbers game more or less, because from what I remember, at least my mood was, we want Prabhupada to visit our temple. You had to distribute more books than the other temple. Oh, he's not coming, and you can't go there and see him. So, for me personally, I said, that's it. Whatever I got to do, I'm going to see Prabhupada. They're going to take a book. But that there was a letter where that was being discussed, seemed like from that first generation who were just, chant Hare Krishna, be happy and sell, Purva and them probably know more than Prabhu. Then there's a point where, like, when I joined, it was just like full on, just got to get them out there, get those numbers done. And the letter said, he said, they are distributing these books under my order. Remember that one? So, but if you can do it better, then you show them. Right. But I don't want the numbers to drop or something like that. And at the same time, though, he would tell devotees, don't be. So, you have to use your intelligence. It's not like Krishna conscious. But then again, too, if you make a mistake, it's such a wonderful process. If you're sincere, maybe you get some reaction, but you're not going to fall away as long as you stay sincere. Sincerity is the most important part. So like a child sometimes, they draw a little picture of, mommy, this is you, right? And you look at it, you're holding it upside down. You can't even tell what it is. But it was done with love, all right? And even if you show that picture to someone else, they feel it too. Oh my God, your child showed that for you? Wow, so nice. So, we're all still Christians conscious children. Some of us are teenagers now. But, in the beginning, we were just children, really, at least for me, I just wanted to see Prabhupada. So that was my motivation for selling. I didn't particularly have compassion for the fallen souls. But, whatever could motivate you, that was the point. So what do you think, lawyer? No?
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Transcendental Book Distribution Ki. So I just wanted to tell a couple of stories from the very early days. I joined in 71. And when I joined, I remember the first thing Balavantaru said, so we just go out and chant Hare Krishna. So that's my first engagement was just go out from morning till evening chanting Hare Krishna. And then after a little while he said, because some devotees were distributing Back to Godhead magazines, he said, so you think you can distribute Back to Godhead magazine? No, I don't think so. It was kind of scary, just after chanting and being in this bubble of nectar of the holy name. Anyway, okay, so I tried it. It was quite amazing that somebody would actually, give some money for a Back to God. And I remember the first time I distributed a Sri Ishopanishad, I got $5 for it. I was so, wow, how did that happen? It was like, if we just step out, Krishna reciprocates. Anyway, then the big development that happened was when the Krishna book was published. And now we were told we have to distribute Krishna book.
Ones, right?
The big one, the big Krishna book. Yeah.
2 volumes,
no paper back
hardback.
then, it was the big one, printed in Japan. 3 of them.
Wasn't it 2 in the beginning?
In the beginning,
2 in
2
the
volumes.
beginning, yeah.
And that just seemed impossible to distribute a big book. No. But, Charudeshna Prabhu was one of the leaders. He, fired everyone up. Anyway, we went out and, go door to door. We were just doing everything on the street. Have to go door to door to people's homes. And I still remember the first, Krishna. They actually, they gave $10 for a. It just seemed impossible to do that.
Like $50 now.
Now, yeah. Anyway, it was a big amount of money. And then going out with Charudeshna Prabhu, he was fearless. I remember we used to go to college campuses. He would go in the dorms, not the women's dorms, in the men's dorms. In lily white campuses all around South Carolina.
Oh.
And once or twice, the cops came after us, and we knew if he got it, he was going to be in big trouble. And whenever I was with him, he never got caught, but he almost got caught a couple times. But it was just, he was so eager. It really inspired me. I got fired up to do fearless book distribution by Charudeshna Prabhu. And the last story I want to tell was in the Atlanta airport. So I was distributing books, and then, there's Governor Jimmy Carter. And so...
Was he the president at the time?
Huh?
Was he he was the governor of Georgia.
He was the governor of Georgia, practically unknown outside of Georgia. So I just handed him a Krishna book. Hi, Governor Carter, take this book, Then he was walking pretty fast, and he had a couple of aides behind him, So he asked, so could you give a little donation? So he just turned around, said to one of his aides, he handed the book to him and give him something. So I think. And the most exciting part is, I learned afterwards he was on his way to Washington, D.C. to inaugurate his presidential campaign with Krishna in his lap.
Well, you can have Pavani sell something that's related to that.
In Chicago, for Thanksgiving, Shivaram Prabhu at that time took all the devotees from Chicago, and I happened to be there distributing books. I was actually from Seattle airport. And Shivaram found out that Jimmy Carter was coming through the airport. So he said that he wanted me to go out to the gate because he knew exactly what gate he would be at. And he said, go to the gate and stand where there was a division between the... Yes.
He was, and he was coming. He would fly in that. What do they call it? Air Force One.
He was yes.
Maybe he's still running
he was
for
on,
president.
Yes. So he said, just wait. He was president. Because, okay, so he said, stand right behind the wall. Inside would be the people that had their tickets and were ready to board. And then there was an aisle, and he said, they said that, the authorities said that anyone could stand at that little wall, and he would come and shake hands with everyone. So I got out there fairly early, so I had a spot right there at the little wall. And pretty soon we saw President Carter come, and he was going from person to person, and they were shaking his hand. So can you hold this for me? Okay. So
anyone see?
I had the Bhagavad Gita. At that time we were distributing yellow Bhagavad Gita.
Do you know him?
And I had a yellow Bhagavad Gita in my hand. Should I wait or what? Okay, so I had the Bhagavad Gita in my left hand, and he was coming back. Of course, I had to shake hands with him with my right hand. So he reached out to me with his right hand, and just as his hand was about to hit my hand, I immediately hit him with the Bhagavad Gita. And I said, this is Gandhi's favorite book. This is the Bhagavad Gita. And he took it in his hand, and he went, thank you very much. Okay, so the story doesn't end there. So 2 weeks later, Shivaram called me up to his office, Prabhu called me up to his office and said, I have something to show you. And it was a newspaper clipping of Jimmy Carter, President Carter, standing at the top, outside the door of his airplane, getting ready to go down the ramp on the flight line at that time. And he stood at the very top of the stairs in New Delhi at the airport, and he held up the Bhagavad Gita. And in front of all the newspapers that were watching him and all the cameras, he said, do you know why I love India? And he said, because the Bhagavad Gita is from India. So...
One thing about the passion, there's a saying, the passion of youth. So what better way to use it than in distributing books?
Jai.
Not that you're in the mode of passion, but it takes some passion, and otherwise there's the mode of ignorance, lethargy and inactivity. So the passion of acting is very valuable.
Jai.
But Gindra said Jimmy Carter's parents were missionaries in India.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jimmy Carter's parents?
Were missionaries in India.
Really?
So I'll mention about an experience I had, and it relates to transcendental passion. In my business, I'm always looking for great art pieces to sell, and I heard this lady in Palm Beach, a multimillionaire, lived in a $30 million mansion, had these particular pieces at a real good price. So I went down there, and she was actually a very kind and nice lady, And we got to talking, and I said, well, you know, I belong to the Hare Krishnas. And she immediately, her whole face and demeanor changed, and I said, oh my God, I hope I didn't say the wrong thing. So she said, just a minute. And she went running out of the room, and she came back, and she had a Bhagavad Gita, she had a book about Srila Prabhupada, and it was a whole stack of books. She says, we took a trip down the Ganges, and we went to your temple, that beautiful big temple. And the thing that I remember the most was this young man who gave us these books. He was so excited, could be passion, and he kept saying, these books will change your life. These books will change your life. Please take these books, give a donation. And she said, it stuck with me to this day. And she pulled out another book. She had all these pictures of Mayapur and this devotee, a little Bengali devotee, who gave that book. And she said he was so enthusiastic. He was determined to give us these books. So that's what I call transcendental passion. Haribo.
Haribo. We're going to have another question?
Well, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita that happiness in the mode of passion is like nectar in the beginning, and then it turns to like poison. So Krishna gave me two instances where I can, fortunately I wasn't experiencing it, but I got to see how that was true in the lives of other people. One was, it was about 25 years ago. I was in the Delta terminal. It was Terminal 5 at the time, and it was late in the afternoon. It was about 3 o'clock.
LA.
In LAX. And so it was a quiet time, and I was just finished lunch. I got back up on the concourse there, and I looked off, and in the distance, maybe about from here to where the front door is, I see somebody coming, being pushed in a wheelchair. And I couldn't really make out who it was, but as the person got a bit closer, I could see that, wait a second, that looks like Muhammad Ali. You know, and sure enough, it was Muhammad Ali, and he was in a wheelchair, and a lady was pushing him. I couldn't tell. She looked about kind of the same age as him. I couldn't really know what the relationship was. But anyway, she came, you know, and there was nobody else around. And so when he got a bit closer, I said, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said, hi, you're Muhammad Ali, right? Something, I can't remember what I said, but I gave him books, and he was happy to receive them. And I just said, well, you know, people give a donation, and she could give a donation to help out. And he accepted the books, he was holding them, and he was wanting to give a donation. And then the lady, whoever she was, whether it was his wife or a caregiver, I don't know who it was, but she goes, you don't need those books, you don't want those books, give them back. And he had Parkinson's at that point, you know, he was in the wheelchair, he was kind of shaking. And so he gave them back, you know, and then she just kind of pushed them away. And I just went, wow, what a lesson, you know. Because Muhammad Ali was, you know, the world heavyweight champion. He was kind of like, if anybody was in the mode of passion, enjoying happiness in the mode of passion, well, he'd be definitely in the top of the list there. But here he was, just, you know, some, I don't know, 15, 20 years later, with Parkinson's, being pushed in a wheelchair by this lady who was, as far as I was concerned, grossly mistreating him, disrespecting him, you know. And so it just gave me a lesson. Well, happiness in the mode of passion is not what I'm going to... Yeah, that's not what I'm going to strive for, because look, he had it. You know, he had everything. He was the world heavyweight champion, but here he was being pushed in a wheelchair with Parkinson's disease and being disrespected by this lady. She wasn't even good looking, you know. I said, poor, this is not what I want.
So back in 1974, 75, Ali was like the number 2 most popular person in the world, behind the Pope, and some surveys said he was number 1, and he just moved from Louisville up to Chicago because his agent was Don King, who had his office there. Somehow or another, he convinced Ali to come up there. So he moved up to Chicago. So within a few weeks after that, so you have to understand now, no celebrity flies commercial, but back then, they all flew commercial except for a few people. even big celebrities. So we would see him because Chicago's the main transfer point, but this was where he started. So he came to the airport that day, and I met him at the terminal, and I stopped, and he actually was so nice. He stopped and talked to me. I was kind of surprised because I dealt with a lot of celebrities before. They would just be cordial but move on. I found out later on that he for anybody, he would sign an autograph and stop. But he actually was serious about the information I was giving to him. So he took a book and he had a handler with him. He said, give him some money. So he wasn't carrying the money. He had somebody give money. Then like a month ago, after that, he came through again. This was time at a different terminal. And because we had different devotees from different places, I had arranged which devotees got to work different terminals depending on how busy they were. And they couldn't get it just because seniority, because we had Chicago devotees we had to take care of, not just the traveling devotees, even if they were sannyasis. So I organized it, so I figured, okay, I'll take the slower terminal. So I went to like TWA. Yeah. So then he came out, this was like the third time he took books. Then that time he came out of a VIP entrance. They had like 10 feet to get to the gate. So the elevator opens up. He was carrying 2 bags. He saw me. He already recognized me. He dropped both bags. He was spooked out because each time he came either American, United, and this time TWA. So he saw me and he thinks, and then the 5th time he stopped, and I was at one of the main terminals. Pragosh was with me, Tripurari Swami. I remember Kavi Chandra Swami. And so there were some Christian groups over there also doing some work. I don't know. So he told them, you cannot tell me who I am. I'm going to talk to these people. He came over and he was actually discussing the philosophy. Then a 6th time he came through, he actually confided in me. He says, this is all, I'm in everything, but what about the sex? I found out later on that he had a problem. He was confiding in me that how can I do this? Because he knew that he was doing something that wasn't helping him. But it showed he was sincere. He was a sincere seeker.
He was.
And after that, like another time, Angelo Dundee came through. At that time, he was known as the best boxing coach in the world. He was added to Ali's team. Angelo Dundee. So I stopped him and gave him a book.
Who's that?
He's the best boxing coach. Boxing.
Yeah.
Professional.
Oh, he was the coach of Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, he was the coach. So Angelo Dundee came through. I stopped him. Usually I would just say, where are you coming from? Okay, whoever it was. But if I recognized him, I would say something. But anyways, he stopped, and then I said, take a book, whatever it was. He says, oh, the champ has these all over his training, all over his training center. He had a training center, and Dundee says the books are all over. So you told the story about Ali. It was unfortunate because that was 25 years after. That's what happened to him. But he made a lot of spiritual advancements in his lifetime.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
afterwards, I talked about.
There's a book by Samapriya, that Dhruva Maharaj's wife, and she wrote. She would distribute in LAX, and she would see him. And every time he would take books and give a donation, again and again and again.
Let's continue.
He became a Muslim to get closer. Well, to get closer to God, right? Because because Cassius Clay, I am the greatest, and then afterwards he said, I'm not the greatest. Allah is the greatest. Yeah.
Well, that was a time, when America had kind of had all the
There was the
segregation period.
What was it? The black Muslims or something
black
like
Muslims.
that. Yeah.
They were just starting about that time also.
Was he? He wasn't part of that though, was he? He was.
I was actually defending them when they were. getting rid of Malcolm X, and he stuck with Elijah Muhammad. But then when he found out Elijah Muhammad had some kind of sexual relations with some of the people, some of the younger women, then Ali separated. But he was with Elijah Muhammad for a while.
But I was just saying, Charadeshna doing book distribution at Atlanta Airport. Atlanta, the heart of the South, and he's black, and he's approaching all these white businessmen, and that was the 1970s, and that's really fearless.
Yes.
You know about that, right?
Yeah, I was 18 and very shy, so it was hard for me to sell.
Because I remember you told, was it last year, you were like a kid and you were doing the stoplights in Chicago, and most times people would just insult you and send you off.
Yeah, I was very shy, but Charadeshna, he was Krishna conscious, confident, so he can overcome all those difficulties easy. The typical thing, what would happen, you get stopped. First time I went out, I don't know if it was McGinder or someone, the police stops us, and they went, typical line, they go, you got two problems. You're black and a Hare Krishna. So
Charadeshna told that himself, right? When
he had to deal with both of them.
He was in Tennessee somewhere, and some cop came and put him up against the wall and said, hey boy, you got three problems. One thing, you're a Hare Krishna. Next thing, you're black. And number three is, you're in my territory. And you had to deal with that, right? And you just went on fearless.
Yeah, especially
transcended the bodily concept of life.
When you get fired up, it's like nothing can really bothers you.
Yeah.
It's like
we don't know, because we in this lifetime we didn't have to deal with that. That's another added obstacle. It's something we just we don't know about.
I'm going to ask the Moggalita to finish this story. I was visiting the temple in 1972, just, because I'm from Atlanta. And at that time I was an entertainer and I had this whole persona going on. So then I met Vishnu John Swami. And then they introduced me to him. And they said, this is Bhakti Ben, he comes to the temple. He said, oh, we're going to have some good times. And then the next day, they invited me to go on Harinam. Again, I'm not living in the temple. I'm new, just getting started. I don't know how many devotees, maybe 35, 40 devotees, it seemed like. We were downtown Atlanta, and the police locked up the entire kirtan party. The entire party. And Vishnu John Swami never once stopped chanting. And the cop told him, stop that buzzing, B. He kept chanting. And then he sat down in the jail and started Bhagavatam. So Moggalila can take it over from there.
Well, I should give a little background first. So we had a big Lord Chaitanya festival in the park. And we had to say that it is not a religious groups were not allowed to have. So fortunately, the head of the parks was a very nice gentleman. And so he became friends. And so he knew we were Hare Krishnas, but he was in our favor. So he said, it's not a religious organization. So we had this huge festival, and Vishnu Jana Maharaj was leading kirtans. So in those days, there was a thing called the Safe Streets and Sidewalks Act in Atlanta. I don't know why it was started. I don't think it was for us, but they applied it to us. And when we were doing kirtans in front of businesses, they would complain. So it happened quite a few times, they got complaints. And so we were a little afraid, but Vishnu Jana Maharaj was, no. So we had a big kirtan, and I don't think there were any women that were arrested, were they? Little southern culture, They didn't arrest the women, but all the brahmacharis and householders were in jail with Vishnu Jana Maharaj, and it was blissful. It was one of the most ecstatic results of getting. I've been arrested a few times here and there, but that was definitely the most blissful time. Was it
just for a few hours? Or?
Oh no, we were in there for several days, at least one night.
Oh wow! You had Mangal arts.
We had, he gave a Bhagavatam class, and he was just doing kirtan, going on and on and on. It was, and then actually Palavanta Prabhu told Srila Prabhupada that we're having this problem, and Prabhupada said to him, Srila Prabhupada said, just find one gentleman who is influential in the city, and he will solve all your problems. So there was a lawyer, Palavanta contacted him. I think he may have known him already. And as a result of that one gentleman then speaking to the authorities, that whole problem was resolved, and we could do street Sankirtan after that.
One last part of the story. So the end of the story, which I wasn't there, my ex-wife came and got me out of jail in the middle of the day.
Left them, huh?
Yeah. And I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there. So I was telling this story at a home program with Romapad Swami in New Jersey. And Lakshmi Nrsimha Prabhu was in the audience. And after I told my part of the story, he said, Balabhadra, I was there too. I went, really? I didn't know that. I didn't realize that you were there. So Lakshmi Nrsimha told this other part of the story. That morning, when they got up or whatever, there was an old African-American gentleman who was there overnight. Maybe he was intoxicated, whatever it was. So he woke up and looked around, saw white bodies and white clothes, and the sun was coming.
He's already gone to heaven.
Huh?
He's already gone to heaven.
He said, am I in heaven?
Am I in heaven?
When he saw all the devotees, am I in heaven? So the impact that we have just by being who we are, it shines through. Like I always tell people sometimes on Sankirtan, I turn to Prabhupada, I said, that's my father. They look at me. And they look at Prabhupada. He's a little brown, I guess. He could be. Because he is my father. It's a question, just tell the truth. Prabhupada is your grandfather. That's my grandfather. And I'm very proud of this book. Actually, when I do book distribution, I'm very proud of that book. Look how nicely it's printed. This is, me coming from the so-called hood with this incredible book that I'm selling, that's amazing. So I make them feel as amazed as me. They say in selling, the secret is, it's a transference of conviction. You sell something you don't believe in, you don't do well. You believe in it, goes like anything. So if you believe in Prabhupada's books, like I know all of you do, no matter how rough it is, no matter what people say about you, Chardashina, I was there one day, a guy practically broke his hand. Practically shaking his hand, practically broke it. He didn't cry, he didn't complain. He got up and just kept trying to do book distribution. Same thing with Pragosh. Some guy punched him and he got up. So if you believe in these books, which again, I know you all do, you just go with conviction. Whoever can be the governor. Two of my most amazing experiences at the Atlanta airport, there's a lot of them, but two. One is meeting one of the most well-known radical black activists of the 60s, Stokely Carmichael. You don't know who that is, but he was like the guy. Malcolm X up north, Stokely Carmichael around here. So then I met him, and I explained to him about Srila Prabhupada. I didn't talk about ancient India, yoga, meditation. I just talked about Prabhupada, because I knew this man was into strong personalities. So I described Prabhupada's life. He took 3 books, gave me $15. I was like, I said, Stokely Carmichael. The other one is Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta Scott King. We were selling candles at the time, making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we had a surplus of books in the basement of the Atlanta temple, so much so that the covers were sticking together because we stopped doing book distribution. So being fired up, we went to our temple president, Gokula Ranjan, Prabhu, can we take these books and go out on Sankirtan? It was on a Sunday. He said, yeah, go ahead. Because we made thousands during the week. That Sunday when we went to the airport in the D concourse, which is the worst concourse at the airport, very slow, Coretta Scott King is walking up the concourse. I know who she is. I said, Miss King, so wonderful to meet you. I want to share something with you. Again, I told her about Prabhupada, because we were just distributing the first volume of Leela Amrita with Prabhupada shaved up. And I just explained about him. And she took the book, put it to her chest, and said, thank you so much, thank you so much. And I saw her several times after that at the King Center. I gave a Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. She was such a gracious person. So we have to be kind. Vaishnavas are all kind. And when the people meet us in that kind mood, we're selling books, it doesn't matter if you're fired up, not fired up, but be kind, because that carries a lot of weight.
Can I add to the king story a little bit? Yeah. Actually, she became vegetarian too, and you may not be aware that when her husband, Martin Luther King, was in the university, his professor, they were actually, I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, they somewhat followers of Gandhi. Yes. So he imbibed that into him, that culture of nonviolence with religious conviction, and he used that as his method for trying to right the injustices, I guess you could say.
Civil disobedience. Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point he went to India actually. As a matter of fact, so you see they wear those Maharashtrian hats.
Yeah. He went to India and he
he got Bhagavad Gita, all these things. So he modeled his movement after. You can tell Christians this. What more Christian can you be than he was? And yet he embraced India. So the Indian Council, as a matter of fact, has put a statue of Gandhi down at the King Center. And they used to honor, when Gandhi's birthday, they would do a big celebration down there annually at the King Center. So a few times I've gone there and they don't sell books. A lot of tourists go. You just tell Martin Luther King got Bhagavad Gita. It used to be in the exhibit, too, matter of fact, if you look in there. It's still there? You can tell, yeah. Go in there and say, he's got Bhagavad Gita. You should take one. So I'm Christian. Well, Martin Luther King took a Bhagavad Gita. Gandhi statues there. How can they say they have to take it? So sometimes it gets busy down there. That's a pretty good place to sell Gitas, for sure. So,
is there anyone in the world today, like in America today, like that, who's got like very principled and yeah? There's no leader like
capitalism's taking over.
I'm just thinking if you could catch someone like that, and then
there's a lot of active social activist people.
Yeah, this kind of
Black Lives Matter. So many things are there. So
they got the Civil Rights Museum. They're trying to keep that spirit.
Well, I just spoke at the Civil Rights Museum along with 2 senators and all these different people. They were trying to build a relationship with the Hindu community, because one of the things that I do, I'm the president of a Hindu-based organization, so they asked me to come and speak. And they were because I wore dhoti, tilak, the whole 9 yards, and they were just fascinated. There are some serious people in this city who want to connect with our culture. They think it's Hinduism, but they're our culture, Sanatan Dharma culture. We just have to reach out. I mean, do book distribution, absolutely, but like Balavanta, he became a personal friend of the first black mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson. And whenever we had a problem, we'd take him some cookies, and he said, my wife told me I need to, I can't eat all this. And then he'd take the cookies in the back and eat them. And then he would, whatever the problem was at the airport or in the city, he'd call up and say, leave these people alone. I have pictures of Balavanta sitting on the stage with Maynard Jackson talking to this guy. His name was Lester Maddox. Lester Maddox was the most racist governor in the history of the country. But when Balavanta's talking to him, he's completely listening. He was fascinated. And then the last one is Hosea Williams, who marched with Martin Luther King. He was on the same ticket with Balavanta. I have a picture of Hosea with a garland eating prasadam, because Balavanta was absolutely bold. And when the picture of Balavanta went to Bombay to Prabhupada, they showed him with a shirt, tie, jacket, tilak, sika, and a dhoti. And Prabhupada was so proud of him. But here's the end of the story. He ran for mayor. I used to go out every day getting signatures for him. He only got a certain number of votes. Prabhupada told him, he asked him to come to New York. I want to talk politics with you. He told Balavanta, you'll be president in 10 years. But because of that environment, the political environment, devotees became somewhat contaminated. Prabhupada wrote back to him and told him, stop it. Stop the whole campaign. And this is what he said. Just take care of the Krishna consciousness of the devotees in Atlanta. And I'm a product of that, because he really took care of us so nicely. Hare Krishna.
Since we're talking about the South and spreading Krishna consciousness here, I remember in '76, I was also in Louisville, Kentucky. Radha Damodar Party had parked there for some time. And I actually met Colonel Sanders.
Big demon, huh?
But I think...
We went from Martin Luther King to Colonel Sanders. They're both famous.
Yeah. But he wasn't pious enough. He had killed too many birds, I think, and he just wasn't. He couldn't.
He's still getting the karma for the ones that are still being killed. Yeah.
But on another note, more positive, just to show the long-term effects of book distribution, she mentioned Jimmy Carter had received some books in the '70s. Around 10 or 20 years later, I think it was his sister, Rosalind. No. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't remember her name, but somehow she became close to Tamal Krishna Goswami, and she would always visit him whenever she was in Dallas. And she took his spiritual advice very seriously. She was very respectful. I think, she must have been introduced to Krishna consciousness by her brother. I don't know how else that connection would have been made, but the books, you don't know where they go. They go. Prabhupada said, you just put the books out there, and the books will act.
Srila Prabhupada is Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is very pleased when he got the news that books have been distributed to the children of, who was the president at the time? Nixon, was it? I can't remember. And he said that the kids must have had the security, but the security led them, and he said that they must have shown to their father, look, see what books we got. Remember that? There was a letter from Prabhupada that books have been distributed to children of the president. I can't remember which parent. I think it was Nixon, yeah.
So Balavanta Prabhu was the temple president, and with Srila Prabhupada's blessings, he ran for mayor of Atlanta and then for legislature. And in the process, he was on TV with other candidates. And once, I'll make this quick, he...
you don't have to make it quick.
Prabhupada told him, just talk about the four regulative principles. So he did. He would talk about the four, and then we would say no intoxication, no smoking. And there are other, in those days, people used to smoke, even on TV, politicians would smoke. So then people would put out their cigarettes real quick. But the best part is finally Srila Prabhupada, when Balavanta was asking Prabhupada how to do this, and Prabhupada said, your success will be when you distribute my books through this political campaigning.
I would just like, my service to the Sankirtan mission is always serving the Vaishnavas. I had the wonderful opportunity of traveling with Tripurari Maharaj for 1 year, and being his, I would go to different temples and train the cooks also and cook for his party, and then I would do the laundry for the devotees who were going out on Sankirtan. And every day when we were in Chicago for 1 month, and I would bring the prasadam out to the devotees and serve them wonderful prasadam. And 2 days out of the week, I would go out on book distribution. And I just remember this one time when I went out with, I went with Kavi Chandra Swami, and he allowed me to distribute a book with him. And it was very enlivening just to have that opportunity, and I would regularly go out once a week. I don't have that good of a memory of exactly the interactions, but it was such an enlivening experience to interact with the public and give them Srila Prabhupada's books and have that opportunity to experience the mellow of book distribution. It was very enlivening. Thank you.
I'd like to tell a story that's pretty interesting. When we were given the Seattle airport, a women's party was given the Seattle airport. And our Sankirtan leader was Pajavali, Devi Dasi. Our temple president was Rochan Prabhu. And one time, I was sitting, we were taking a break, and right below me, sitting in a chair at one of the gates, there was a briefcase. And in the briefcase, and the briefcase was just sitting there, we were thinking, something special about this briefcase. So I picked it up and put it in my lap and opened it, and there, it was full of $100 bills. It was packed with $100 bills. So we were thinking what to do with this, right? So okay, so we called Pajavali up, and Pajavali said, just stay where you are, don't move, leave the briefcase where it is, I'm coming right to the airport. So 20 minutes, half an hour later, she's there. She opens it up and sees all these $100 bills. Now, Seattle Airport, SeaTac, was pretty amazing because we had a wonderful relationship with the police department. And they trusted us like anything. So Pajavali, she decided, okay, we have to turn this in. Okay, wait a minute. So we turned it in, and okay, so that's that. Now, after that, people couldn't speak against us at the airport. They always supported us, the police department. About 20 years later, I was going through the airport to visit my parents that lived up in Sequim, Washington, and I looked up at this gate to the second floor, and I saw who had been a young officer at that time. He was the contact for the Hare Krishnas from the police department. He was upstairs. And so I quickly took the elevator up, and I introduced myself. I said, you probably don't remember me, but he said, oh, I do remember you. He says, you're Alice Acker. He remembered my Karmi name. And then he said, we just started talking. And he said, oh, so how are all the girls doing? He said, how's Joni? And I said, oh, Joni is, she's married, she lives in Connecticut, and her husband's the temple president there. And he asked about every one of the girls. He wanted to know what their life had turned out like, what they were like. And afterwards, it was just amazing. He was so happy to see me. And what that did was it kind of solidified his relationship with us. And he became we all became part of his family. Yeah.
There's big money at SeaTac because it's 6 a.m. They were at the airport at 6 a.m. because a big flight came in from Alaska, which took many hours. What they do is the workers up there, at least at that time, they work on the north of Alaska drilling for oil, and they would work like a month straight because they live in Texas or Louisiana. Their family was still down there. They'd say, you work up there a month straight, you're going to get double overtime. Then you get off 2 weeks. So, and they would often pay them in cash, right? So these guys came in. So you guys went out there. You were out there at 6 a.m. to meet the plane. Planes, yeah, they'd come in, and that's one of the benefits of SeaTac. Plus, all the guys from Korea, we used to benefit the servicemen a lot because for some reason they believed in God, and Bhagavad Gita, of course, is about a military man. And anyways, that was one of at least 50% of our business at the airport, in Atlanta too, right? Yeah, okay, so in SeaTac also, all the guys from Korea, which they had a lot of them, they'd all go through SeaTac. So I don't know what it's like now, but that's the situation. I don't know how many airports even are allowed devotees anymore, but St. Louis allows devotees there. Chicago. Oh yeah, Chicago.
Microphone?
I just wanted to respond to Mukunda Datta Prabhu's attempt to distribute to Colonel Sanders. There is a devotee in San Diego who is the grandson of Colonel Sanders, and he inherited a good portion of Colonel Sanders' wealth, and he's one of the main contributors at the San Diego temple.
It'll help out Colonel Sanders, right? If
Nice. I think
I was going to say maybe some results of selling book. Like myself, I became devotee really from reading the books, and I lived small town. I don't know if you heard Gary, Indiana, very small little town.
You were pretty young when you came.
Yeah, I was 18, but my brother and I always curious, wanted to know, I guess like most people, I would say, but you couldn't find any information. And when he started university in Chicago, so he would write that South Shore line down to Chicago in 71, my brother. And they hadn't started a temple yet, but he bumped into the Harinam party and bought Back to Godhead magazine and brought it home, and I read it. And so that began my Krishna conscious journey. One of the stories I always think about is, I can't remember his name, he's a member of our temple. But anyway, his father had bought a book, took it home, put it on the shelf, never touched it for who knows years. He's born, he becomes a teenager, he takes that Bhagavad Gita off the shelf, he becomes a devotee. So it was maybe, 15 years later, it made him a devotee. So, I want
the power of Srila Prabhupada's books. In the late 60s, we did the hippie trek, my girlfriend and I, and we spent a year looking for something, but all we found was drugs, rock and roll, and sex, the same thing we had before. So we came back very disillusioned, and we entered back from Amsterdam, we came to New York City, and we were going to take a bus from the Port Authority bus station up to Canada. And lo and behold, little Mother Daivi Shakti, she's in Vrindavan now, and she has a wonderful bookstore there called Matchless Gifts. She came up to me, and here I was, a long hair, if you can believe it, long hair, big beard, sheepskin jacket, and total hippiedom, but mad hippie, because we were not happy. And she gave me a Rasa Leela edition of Back to Godhead. And we went on our way, we hitchhiked across Canada, came back to Vancouver, and somehow or other kept that book with us. It just stayed with us, and then we ended up coming to Vancouver Temple. So whenever I see Daivi Shakti now in Vrindavan, I offer her full dandavats, because she basically saved our lives. So Srila Prabhupada's book distribution, ki jai.
She's still distributing books as well in Vrindavan. Many, many books.
Well, there's another thing, just a quick one here. One year there was a movie that won the Academy Award for Best Picture, Woody Allen's movie, Hannah and her sisters. And for some reason, Woody wanted the devotees to be in the movie. And if you go back and look at the clips, Daivi Shakti's husband, Nana Baran, he has a speaking part. He's actually handing Woody Allen a book, and the Bhagavad Gita, and he says something about it, and Woody Allen says something nice about it. So that's another point about Daivi Shakti and Nana Baran.
Yeah, actually, Daivi Shakti, she made quite a few devotees. The Devamrita Maharaj, Chandramali Maharaj, actually, also. And I talked to her about that. She said, yeah, I used to go out to that Port Authority.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, actually, I wasn't going to sell books. I was going to make brahmacharis. And that's what my goal was. I'll find them, and I'll just, she just make them surrender.
Daivi Shakti, that's the name.
Quite a few. I met many other devotees. You'll be surprised, some of these really big devotees. Oh, yeah, Daivi Shakti, I met her. And
Prabhupada gave her the exact right name, huh?
There's another interesting story. Bhavananda was in New York, and before he became a devotee, he made certain friends in the Andy Warhol group and some other groups. Anyways, 20 years later, we get a call. Well, actually, we're out at Venice Beach, which we have a Harinam around Gorpurnim, and luckily it was a good Harinam because Vyasaki Prabhu was in town and he led. So somebody comes up to us and I talked to me and said, well, I've been looking for you guys. Because we hadn't gone on Sankirtan for a while. That was on Gorpurnim, so we had a big... I said, so what's happening? He said, well, we're looking for you. We want to be in a movie. I said, well, we could talk about it, and what is it? Call me up. So at that time, it was Joel Schumacher was the director, and he told us later on he wanted us to be in the movie because he knew Bhavananda from way back. And you can hear the chanting in the movie. It's called Falling Down with Michael Douglas, which was pretty big in the box office that year. I could just tell you a quick one. We also had chanting.
I don't know who they are.
Falling Down. Then many years before that, we were out in L.A. on Hollywood Boulevard. Every Friday we'd chant on Hollywood Boulevard. And producer came out and said, we want you guys to be in the movie. We ended up in the movie Death Wish 2 with Charles Bronson, which was number 3 in the box office that year. And if you look at that, there's also a clip, and we're chanting right down Hollywood Boulevard. I'm in the front row, me and Dura Krishna, who ended up as yeah. But it shows that the chanting is being heard. And it's based on the Sankirtan. So
I would like to hear from some of you some of the experiences that you've had.
Okay, well, there's a hand right up there right now.
Just relating to how devotees can be attacked. Once I was distributing a book on the University Avenue in Seattle. I used to live in Seattle. And one lady came with a Pepsi bottle and hit on my head. So that thing happens even now. But my question more is, Prabhuji, you mentioned that in SeaTac people come in from Alaska. So what is our official position right now? Are we allowed to distribute in airports or no?
Some airports, most of them, they made regulations that you have to go outside the terminal. There are a few like St. Louis and Chicago where they can actually go inside the terminal. And I guess Atlanta, you can go inside?
We're on the curb.
Curb, okay. So it depends on the particular airport, what regulation they want. Some have total exclusions, like Orlando. It was unfortunate, but because airports for a while were our best places. But now I think Brigopati Prabhu, even if you had an airport, you might still go to colleges, right?
What airport are you on outside? I was praying to get out. No, we were in LAX, and then after 9/11, everybody got cleared out. And when we went back, it was like we had so much competition. We were only like one of 15 groups. Because, people would see us doing it, and they'd catch on that, we could do this too. And so the different groups representing different charities would be in there, and it'd be like 50 of them and 3 of us. And it was, it was really difficult. So actually, towards the end there, about 2006, I was praying to Krishna. I don't want to pray against the devotees, but I don't want to be in this airport anymore. And we got out. We lost the case, and we started doing schools, and it's been much better. We actually doubled the amount of books we distributed. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, you discovered so many more places once you were forced to leave. I think it was Krishna's arrangement, actually, huh? Wasn't it? So, anyways.
So all of you all over here have, performed Sankirtan and maintained the spirit of Sankirtan through all your ups and downs, difficulties and things like that in life. So several of us looking ahead, this is the desire that practically I think all of the devotees here would express, is that we want to be able to perform Sankirtan, be connected to the Sankirtan mission for the rest of our life. From your personal experience and realization, what would you say to us?
2 minutes since I got the mic. Still, my motivation has always been because I just wanted Prabhupada to be happy with me. And I knew this makes him happy, and it is important, it's practical also. Distributing books is not just, but it's a very practical thing. So, but I just want Prabhupada to be happy. And I know these books need to be distributed. That's what personally keeps me going.
It's kind of emotional when I think about what you're asking, because a lot of times people ask me, Bala, do you still go downtown on Sankirtan every weekend or every week and da-da-da-da? And I tell them, I said, downtown is my temple. And the people down there are my congregation. And I'm indebted to downtown Atlanta. Why? First devotee I met I was standing downtown waiting for the bus to go home from work, and Bhakti Bill, later on Vaishnavananda, came up to me and said, Hare Krishna. And I was probably intoxicated. I said, what's that? A few other expletive words. So he had mercy upon me. I'm standing in a line of at least 50 or 60 people. He came directly to me and gave me a book and convinced me. And it's a simple little story. I only had bus fare to go home from work. It was the middle of the week, no check. I think it was 35 cents in my pocket. And I said, man, I only have 35 cents. I mean, what can I do? He said, give it. God will help you. I'm standing there, no bus fare. How am I going to get home? But he impressed me so much with his conviction. Like I said earlier, his conviction transferred over to me, and I had to have that book. And that was just an amazing thing. So what keeps me going is looking for more Balabhadras, Mahotsahas, Vishnu Chittas, just looking for them. And I'm meeting them all the time. Maybe they don't join the temple. See, that's another thing. Join the temple or improve their lives. So my meditation is how to help them improve their lives a little bit. And then what they do with that later on, because no one knew that I would become a devotee. When I met Amoga Leela, I just told him earlier, I said, it was your smile that made me join the temple. I'm not exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. Because I would come and sit with him in the office, and he would just smile. And I said, I need to be with these people. So thank you, Prabhu. So if we just keep going, whatever happens in your future, I was a brahmachari 8 years. I'm a grihastha now for the last 42 years. So it doesn't matter, grihastha, brahmachari. Lord Chaitanya doesn't see it like that. He told the Brahmana Kurma, was in South India, and Brahmana Kurma wanted to travel with Lord Chaitanya, leave the village, leave his home. You all know the verse, Yade Deke. Lord Chaitanya said, you stay here, preach, make everyone Krishna conscious. So that is it's like Sikhi always jokes with me, Balabhadra's never lived in another temple. That's right. I don't need to leave Atlanta. It's right here. Everything I need to preach is right here for the rest of my life. And the last thing is, two things. My wife, she says, when I die, cremate me, throw my ashes on the New Panihati Dam. Not the Ganges, New Panihati, Atlanta. That's her life. So I'm always thinking, one day I'll be downtown on Harinam, and the cops are going to say, 911, this guy's dead. So if I die on Harinam, I'm fine. So I'm convinced, after 50 years, that I can do this. I can stay here. I can make it the rest of my life preaching. Charudeshna, 2 weeks before he really, really fell sick, was trying to go on Harinam with me. I have a special chair for Charudeshna because he couldn't stand. He would just sit there. And then when he got fired up, he'd get up and start moving around, but he could barely walk. 2 weeks he was trying to go on Harinam. And Bhakti Tim, some of you met Bhakti Tim, he's my cohort every time he goes on Sankirtan. So he called me, he said, Prabhu, I can't bring him. I cannot bring him. He's too sick. I was like, oh my God. 2 weeks later, a few weeks after that, you guys all came to see him. Yeah. Chardation was so happy when you came. I was so proud of it. I don't know how you pulled it off, that you were all over that place. And the nurses, they said, he must be an important man. Oh, yeah. He was so happy. You blessed, you helped him transition, because he loved all of you so much. He loved the devotees at Krishna Life, and he really appreciated meeting Maharaj. We had a private lunch with him. He just loved you. He had nothing
we
but
met
good
him at
things to
the
say.
festival. Which festival was that? The sweet.
Yeah, Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. We met him there.
So just keep remembering devotees like Charadeshna, Brigupati, Sikh, just remember, this is our life. We'll do this until we die. We may have jobs, we may be business people, musicians, whatever it is, we're still going to do. I mean, there's not been 1 year in my 50 years that I've not done Sankirtan and Harinam. Period. I mean, end of story. So don't tell me there's an excuse why you can't do it for the rest of your life. Keep doing it.
I just had something quick, because to answer your specific question, Krishna conscious is something every moment, every second, you're making a decision of what to do, to go one way or go the other way. Usually means Maya or Krishna. So, but you take certain vows, but I've seen devotees that try to take other vows, and it's just too much, because the first thing is to save yourself. We want to save everybody else, but don't take a vow that say that you'll always do this or always do that. That's my opinion. Prabhupada never asked his disciples to take certain vows like that you're always going to do this or always going to do that. He made certain vows and that was it. Now other people later on, they added on certain other vows to people. Do this extra on Ekadasi, this is required or whatever. Prabhupada, he didn't make those requirements. Even the BBT calendar one year, they said, and I had to correct them, the next year they corrected it. On Bhima Ekadasi, they made it required fasting even from water. That was not Prabhupada's plan. That was in his program. We went on Sankirtan and Bhima Ekadasi to the airport all day. We didn't fast even from water. So this is the type of thing you're talking about, lifelong vow. Yeah, your lifetime vow is to become Krishna conscious and to do service. So that's your lifetime vow. If you make a vow like I'm always going to be doing this or that, you might be disappointed later on, because you can do something else.
Okay, but still, this desire, you asked how to keep it alive. So, like, there's a book called A Bond of Love, and it's 300 interviews with Prabhupada's female disciples, and like almost everyone talked about how they used to distribute books, and so and plus we almost all came from getting a Back to Godhead magazine, because that was we distributed millions of Back to Godhead magazines, and they only cost 25 cents, 12 cents, and we doubled the price, so you had to get 25 cents for the Back to Godhead. So if someone gave you $1, you can distribute 3 more Back to Godheads. But anyway, and then I think, so why are they no longer distributing? Because there's such a special taste that one can only experience on book distribution, and you feel someone who hasn't experienced it, they're really missing out. And how to keep it going is, first of all, that obligation. We're obliged to our spiritual master and to Srila Prabhupada for giving us. And then when we read, we think, how much this would change someone's life if they just heard this, that they're not this body, And so just to keep it the habit, just like many devotees, old devotees have even stopped chanting their rounds, or they decreased, because everything's a habit. If you get in the habit of waking up late in the morning, then it's a habit, or you get in the habit of chanting less rounds, So the same thing with book distribution, we have to make it a habit that, okay, maybe when you're 70 years old, you won't be going out, so many hours every single day, but at least sometime, at least once a week or something like that, to keep the flame alive. That's one idea.
Mataji, you just distributed a Bhagavatam set just like one day before you came, right, Mataji? Yeah.
One practical, Jai. One practical suggestion I said to Mahotsav Prabhu this morning, and I think that's more applicable to you because you go to devotee festivals and you distribute a lot of books there. Maybe you're already doing this, but there are many books which are not generally available in Prabhupada books, which are not generally available in America because the BBT doesn't print them, but the BBT in India, in Juhu, has a policy of keeping all of Prabhupada's books in print. So if you could get all those books which aren't available in America, make a set. There are a lot of small books and medium books. And just meet all the devotees and say, hey, do you have all of Prabhupada's books in your home? You don't have this one, and sell those books, which they quite likely don't have. That's a suggestion for you. And if you can't get, if it's a hassle for you to get the books, well, devotees here can help with that.
So I want to say two things. One, have devotee friends, at least one friend, who you can trust and open your heart to. And I'll just give one example. Wonderful result. Bhakti Kevin and I were flying here from California. When we got into the airport in Sacramento, as we approached the gate, there was this young, very beautiful young girl. She looked like she was 14 or 15, and she smiled at me, gave me such a beautiful smile. And in my heart, I thought, she's a devotee. I've got to give her a book. Well, unfortunately, I didn't do it. But the good thing that happened was when we didn't sit together on the plane. We couldn't get seats together flying to Las Vegas. But then from there on, you arranged that we could sit beside each other. And we were talking, and I opened my heart, and I told him this story. I said, if I had just, put a book in her hand at least, or even shown her the book, who knows what Krishna would have done. And immediately, there was an Afro-American man sitting on the other side of him. Kevin got inspired. He said, I haven't even shown him a book. He just immediately took out a Bhagavad Gita, right? Was it Bhagavad Gita? And put it in his hand, And we were landing, right? We were just landing in Atlanta. And he took the book. I don't have any money. Anyway, then, after how many different apps he went through, finally he found an app that he could pay you. And he gave $10, Right? So this is, have a friend who you trust, you can open your heart to like that. And the second thing, Srila Prabhupada is alive in his books. And I've found so many devotees, because I tell this story to some devotees, and they said, I do the same thing all the time. And it works. If you have some question, or you have some problem,
open the book.
And you don't know what to do, take a book. And pray. You have to be sincere. You have to pray to Srila Prabhupada. Please help me, Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vidaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi. And Prabhupada will answer the question. It's absolutely amazing. And if we give, and you did this all the time, and I'm starting to do it too now. When you're distributing a book, they say no or whatever. Just open the book and let them pick a verse. Let them just, or you read any verse, and again, right? Again and again, that verse, does something to their heart. And they end up taking it. Or even if they don't take it, they want the book and they can't give money, we'll make some, just like when we arrived in Atlanta, we had an Uber or a Lyft driver. And so Bhakti Kevin gave him a book, just as we were getting out, right? And he said, I don't have a little book, you don't have any money. Kevin said, do you even have like a lighter? something you can give. You don't have any, he said, I don't have any cash, no change even. So then he pulled out, he said, well, I do have this. It was a little memento. He said, I have 2 of them. Somebody had given, it was a verse from the Bible. And it said, I can't remember exactly now, but just put your trust in God and you will never be without a shirt or something like that. And there was a $1 bill folded up in the form of a shirt. And it was, so he gave, so if we just give them the book, put the book in their hand, that book has Srila Prabhupada's full power in it, and it will work miracles.
So I like Vaishesika Prabhu's rules. Number 1 rule is always have books. If you have a book, you'll be surprised at who you meet. And this has happened to me so many times where I'll go to get in my car, and I don't know if it's Krishna or intuition or what. You get a book. So I always carry them in my car and always have one in my pocket. And it's amazing the people you meet. Because if you bring the book, Krishna will send the person that will take the book. And in that regard, we were distributing in Mexico City, and they have a rule there that everyone in the temple has to distribute. They have a button, actually, it says a book a day. So everybody makes a point of distributing 1 book a day at least. Because, many grihastas, we, are old people, we get hung up doing what we're in this life, But if you always remember to take a book. So I try to go everywhere I go, gas station attendant, this person, that person, no matter who they are, you give them a book. This book will change your life. Or this is great philosophy. You like to read, and you give them the book. And in that way, you're spreading Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said his was a missionary movement. So that's if we go forward with that, trying to please Srila Prabhupada by doing the one thing, of course, everything pleased Prabhupada, but the number 1 thing was distributing his books. He put so much effort into to translating these books and making them so perfect. So we have that obligation to Srila Prabhupada and to our spiritual master, whoever they are, to distribute books. Haribol.
So there's 2 points. One is on the opposite side of not having a book. At one point in Atlanta, we had stopped distributing books because the management wanted to make a lot of money. So we had our Murari band, we recorded all kinds of music, and we were selling cassettes at the Atlanta airport, thousands of dollars every day. So we didn't have any books. Practically, we were not allowed to take books by the administration. Take these cassettes, sell them, and make money. So one day, this lady who was selling flowers, she knew me, and she said, Benny, there's Michael Jackson. And here comes, this is like in the 80s, after Thriller. He comes up the walkway, only 1 security person. I didn't have any books. All I had was the Murari band cassettes. So I go up to Michael, I say, hey, Michael, Hare Krishna. You know what he said? Thank you, brother. And I gave him the cassette, but I felt so bad that we had no books. So we have to, it's important to always, like Prabhu was saying, always have books, period. It's very, very important.
Prabhu, could we always have a Bhagavatam?
The question exactly was, what is our advice to the next generation? Was that, yeah. Well, we have to keep Prabhupada's words, with us as much as closely as possible. We have them in the books, and we should not be strangers to them ourselves. I know Prabhupada's words are what motivate me. Every morning we sing Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chittate Kodi Aikya. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. And sometimes devotees ask me, how is it you've been able to do Sankirtan for so long? It was easy in the 70s, but at some point when other devotees stopped, had to figure out, what's my motivation, where's it going to come from? I stumbled across this many, many years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but this and similar statements is what helps me keep going. This is an excerpt from a lecture Prabhupada gave in Vrindavan, 1976. He says, "This is Krishna consciousness movement. You cannot sit idly to show your gorgeousness in a secluded place, imitating Haridas Thakur. No, you have to preach. That is the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Amara Agyaya Guruhana Tada Edesh. That is really following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not to imitate Haridas Thakur. That is not possible. Even you do that very nicely. That is for your safety. Supposing that you are doing nicely, but that is for your safety. But one who is facing dangerous position for others' benefit, here it comes, they are very quickly recognized by Krishna. So when I heard that, I thought, well, that's what I'm interested in. I want to be recognized by Krishna. I just figured that's the goal, right? Some sit here, Haditosanam, that you have to, at some point we want Krishna to give his stamp of approval. I heard Prabhupada said in a lecture, we want that Lord Chaitanya goes, this man has done something, has done something for my movement, it has done something for my service. So, to be quick, Prabhupada says, to be very quickly recognized by Krishna. That's the process. And he quotes the famous 2 verses from the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, just like fighting soldiers, they are facing danger for the country. They are recognized. Similarly, those who are preachers on behalf of Krishna, preaching to people to take Krishna consciousness, they are great soldiers. And Prabhupada concludes by saying, so I am very happy that you Europeans and Americans are helping me. So continue this process. And that is once again, he says, that is the very easy way to be recognized by Krishna. Those who are preaching this Krishna consciousness. So I thank you very much that you have come here in Vrindavan and you are traveling and preaching. So let us dedicate this life for preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. Prabhupada concludes by saying, never mind we die by preaching. Still, it will be glorious. So, from a statement like that, you can understand how important Prabhupada felt it was. And kind of remembering something like that helps me kind of stay motivated to continue doing it.
I always remember this whole string of purports in the 4th canto, wherein this king Malayadwaja has just left his body, and his widow is lamenting, and Srila Prabhupada writes again and again and again, and many, many purports throughout that entire passage, that he makes the comparison between a chaste wife joining her husband through sati and a chaste disciple who, in the absence of the spiritual master, never forgets the orders that he's received and lives by following these orders. And Prabhupada says that a disciple's duty is to either fulfill the order of the spiritual master or die trying to fulfill that order of the spiritual master, but there's never any other option. And that's what it means to be a disciple, because Sanatana Goswami told us that a disciple is like a sold-out animal. He no longer owns himself. He doesn't have any rights over his life any longer. He can't make any personal decisions. He's the property of another person. So I was fortunate enough to be trained by Tamal Krishna Goswami, who had that attitude and instilled that attitude in anyone that he preached to. That Guru Nishta is very, very important, to really understand what it means to be a disciple and to stick very strictly to that principle. That's something we always have to keep in our minds, and I think that that's why Srila Prabhupada told us to sing this particular song that Bhrigupati Prabhu has already quoted every day in Guru Puja. That's not the traditional standard. That's something that Srila Prabhupada introduced. I don't know why he introduced it. I'm not going to speculate. But, modern civilization, and particularly Western civilization, doesn't have a real clear concept of the importance of a spiritual master. And for that reason, we don't have a natural concept or an intuitive idea of what it means to be a disciple. But Srila Prabhupada really wanted to instill this idea in us, and that's why he has us sing this song. And if you give due reflection to that song by Narottam Das Thakur, and then every single line of that song is just full of deep, deep purports. And in fact, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote a Sanskrit commentary on a Bengali song, that Bengali song. So, just to illustrate the importance of this principle, I think. So that's
the entrance to Prema Bhakti.
Yes.
Prema Bhakti
Yeah.
Chandrika.
First things first. So, Adau Shraddha, and that Shraddha is
Kevala
reposed.
Bhakti Sadhana.
Only place where you're going to find bhakti is in the left and right foot of the spiritual master, lotus feet. Not in Loy Bajar, not in any other thing. Hare Krishna.
Bhrigupati Prabhu mentioned about how at a certain point there wasn't so much external motivation because in the 1970s and maybe half of the 80s, like never was there a class when book distribution wasn't encouraged, especially by Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Romeshwar Swami and Pragosh, and so all of the time it was encouraged. Then it just waned, and now I practically never hear in a Bhagavatam class encouragement for book distribution. So, like he said, we have to develop self-motivation, through all of these things that we're speaking about, these processes of pleasing Srila Prabhupada and reading Prabhupada's words. So that's why I see every time I come here, devotees are coming from all over the world to get that inspiration here. They're coming and their spiritual masters are sending them here to learn and just to be in the atmosphere where it's something that is very viable and important. So that's why so many guests come here for that inspiration.
I would say we can look at it at the inverse. Suppose there was no book distribution. You just
Shrunyayatam Jagat Sarvam.
You just chant Hare Krishna, read, study. You're a brand new person. I mean, now we're more advanced. I can sit and do that, just read all day. But imagine 18 years old. So this was perfect, actually. You think about it, it was perfect at this time for anyone who wanted to be a devotee. At least for me when I was 18. Now that energy, I could run up and down the streets all day long. The perfect engagement. I like to hurt, you could talk to such a variety of people too. Otherwise, there's so many things materially that it kind of satisfies. And at the same time, it's ecstatic once you get a taste for it. That's all you want to do. So, Lord, that first verse is Sikshastakam, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankantanam, Chaitodarpana Marjanam, Avad Mahagdavagni Vapanam. So, it's perfect. It was actually perfect for this time for us. Compared to other ages, maybe you did yoga, so many things. But, if you went out, it saved me. I don't know if I would have made it in Chicago back then if we weren't distributing books. I don't know. Yeah, you get up in the morning, Mangalarti, get the cars ready, here's your keys, go. And we're so tired, who's going to drive? I'm not driving, I'm going to sleep a little bit, Hopefully the driver doesn't fall asleep too, right? Get out there, let's go, hit it all day, come back, evening program, hot milk, popcorn, go to sleep, get up next morning again, let's go again, come on, go. So,
that's another point which should be repeatedly emphasized on a different note. Don't drive when you're tired. Pull us, if there's no one who can drive, just pull over, go to sleep. Take 2 hours less of book distribution. Really. Don't, we're talking about enthusiasm, but enthusiasm has to be tempered by intelligence also.
Tamal Krishna Goswami's driver fell asleep. That's what happened.
Every year we lose devotees due to, sleeping, falling asleep.
He made a whole book about how to drive for devotees.
Driving for
Krishna.
Just I wanted to add to what the other day Bhrigupati Prabhu was astonished to see all these young men flying around Tulsi in the morning for the parikrama, but this morning I was astonished to see Apurva Prabhu flying around Tulsi. that's the potency of book distribution.
I'd like to say one more thing, that now that I look back on our years of Sankirtan and book distribution, I realize that we lived so simply. I mean, all we did from early morning till late, from the moment we woke up, we were only thinking about chanting our japa and getting out on Sankirtan to distribute books. Like by 6:15 we were at the airport, we were out there all day long. They would bring a big, huge RV out and we would have Bhagavatam class and Prashadam at the airport. And then everything that we owned, all of us, we could get into one Bhagavatam box. That everything, and we were just ready to go here or there. All we did was pack up our box. We had a Srimad Bhagavatam box with all our belongings and a sleeping bag, and that was it. Now the other thing that I'd like to say is there is so much nectar even right here at the Atlanta Temple, because I recently, just coming here, I met my old friend Rama Devi, and she worked at the airport in New York for years. She was a very big book distributor at New York airport, and she must have so many stories to tell. And I think so there's so much nectar everywhere to be had still, if we just ask for it, look for it.
In a way, even more, because now people know. Back then, many people never even heard of karma, right? I mean, like, that was foreign to them. But these brahmacharis also have all their possessions in less than a box and a sleeping bag. Yeah, like, simply amazing.
Do we have time for more Sankirtan stories? So I'll just tell this one little. So Bhakti Kevin and I were in Davis distributing books, and then when we were over, on the way heading back home, there was a car right in front of us at the stoplight. He's laughing. And what did it say? Honk if you love death or dying? And I looked at that, I said, what is that? What is, I don't understand. And he just said, it's a really bleak outlook on life. So somehow then, I guess you told me, give them a book, right? So we didn't have any books in the front seat, and by the time we could get a book out, the traffic had already moved on. Anyway, then we followed them. They happened to turn left where we were going to turn left. There was a traffic light. Just as we got there, the light turned green. A second traffic light, just as we got there. So finally, back to third track, he said, just go like this, tell them to roll down your window, and just throw the books into their car. He was so eager to give them the book, because it was about death. So it was coming back. So anyway, at the next light, they stopped, and the light stayed red for a minute. So I jumped out of the car and told them and I said, we saw your bumper sticker about if you love death and dying. Well, this is about after you die, you can live again. And the lady was driving, younger middle-aged, Southeast Asian maybe. She said, oh, I'm really interested in that. Anyway, then they moved on. So then the next traffic light, we were actually going into that shopping center right there. So Bhakti Kevin pulled in, and I said, maybe we could get a donation. So I went running back out to the street, and I just asked, can you give any donation? Even a little change? She said, I don't have any money. Oh, yeah, I do have a few quarters, So she gave, I think it was 80 cents or $1. So Krishna is always there, giving us an opportunity like that. And if we really want to do it, Krishna will enable it. If we take one step to Krishna, he'll just take Not 10 or 20 or 100, 1,000 steps toward it. It's what's happening now. Really, just get the book into their hand, show them the book. And Krishna will take over.
I'd like to thank who's ever responsible for this, particularly this session here. This has been, for me, a wonderful experience. It was a great idea. Thank you. It's, thank you. You take it for granted, but I feel like, I'm sitting here and it's helping me feel much closer and appreciating devotee association, my God brothers and God nephews like that, much more than I usually am able to do, and I'm really grateful for that, and I hope I can remember this. And with your permission, can I just share one more excerpt with everybody? Okay, good. I got a good one. Okay, so this is Prabhupada, 1976 in Melbourne. He says, missionary spirit is that they do not understand, but you have to make them understand. They are not calling you. I am suffering, please come. But it is your business to go and let them know that you are suffering. You take this method. That is the way of becoming, once again, very quickly recognized by Krishna. Otherwise, if you think, they are not understanding, what is the use of going there? Let me sleep. Prabhupada goes, that is not good. They are not understanding, still you have to go. Then Krishna will take it that he is laboring so hard for my sake. Never mind, he is successful, it doesn't matter. But he is working hard for me. That is noted down. So our business is to become recognized by Krishna. Whether one man is converted or not converted, that is not our business. We shall try our best, but Krishna must see that I am giving service to him. That's all. That is wanted. Not that you have to judge that you have approached so many men, nobody became Krishna conscious. That doesn't matter. But you have gone there. You have endeavored, your sincere effort. That is recognized by Krishna. That is the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yade deke tadeka Krishna Upadesh. Whomever you meet, you inform him the instruction of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never said that you see that he has actually become Krishna conscious. Never says. You simply say, go and say. That is your business. It is not that you have to see that he has become Krishna conscious. It is not so easy to become Krishna conscious. It will take, and then Prabhupada quotes, Bahunam Jamanam Ante, after many, many births. But you have to do your duty. Go and preach. Yade deke tadeka Krishna Upadesh. Your duty is finished. Of course, you will try to convert him, but if he is not converted, that is not deviation of your duty. You simply have to go and speak. Just like when I came to your country, I never expected any success, because I knew, as soon as I will say, no illicit sex, no meat eating, they will reject me immediately. Prabhupada laughs. So I was not hopeful at all. And then he goes, devotee goes, they are so attached. Prabhupada says, but it is your kindness that, and Prabhupada didn't seem to respond to that, but it is your kindness that you accepted me. But I never expected that these people will accept. I never expected. And Hari Sari says, so simply we have to rely on Krishna. And Prabhupada says, yes, that is our only business. And if we look, and Hari Sari again says, and if we look for the results, then, and Prabhupada interrupts him and says, we should do our duty as prescribed by the spiritual master, Guru Krishna Kripaya. Then both sides you'll be favored, from the spiritual master and from Krishna. And that is the success. My Guru Maharaj was publishing one paper, Dainika Nadia Prakash. It was worth 2 paisa or 1 paisa. So if a brahmachari could sell a few copies, he would have been so glad. The collection was not even 4 annas. Still, he was so glad that, oh, you have distributed so much. Our business is to carry out the order, not to see success. Success is not so easy. That is not so easy. No, yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
You have some great quotes.
I'm going to have to not verbatim, but paraphrase. I often think of Prabhupada's arrival in L.A. in 75 in the Vyasasana, and he's saying how the Krishna conscious movement has been established. We don't have to add anything or change anything. And he mentions that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Shite Te Koriyakya Ara Nakaryanas. So we simply just have to follow the words of the spiritual master. And then he tells a story how he says his spiritual master asked him, if you ever get some money, you print some books. And then the phrase that always catches me, he says, you kindly help me. You see, I'm trying to satisfy my Guru Maharaj. This is how Prabhupada saw it. I'm trying to satisfy my, and you won't kindly help me. Yeah, print as many books in as many languages and distribute them all over the world, and the Krishna conscious movement will automatically spread. And then shortly after that, he said, what was it, 17 volumes in 2 months? And he was really heavy on them. If you don't do this by God's Puja Day, then, you know, he wasn't going to be happy. But before that, very sweet, huh? That was. So I remember hearing that 75, still new to what he heard. That always kind of stuck in me like that, you know. Probably was practically crying, begging us like that. So.
Just one last thought from me to you from Srila Prabhupada when he came to Atlanta in 1975. And this is especially kind of, the Madhujis might relate to this, because Radha Damodar was here, New Vrindavan was here. I remember you and I were in the kitchen all night making halava and sweet balls. So a Radha Damodar devotee, see, Prabhupada played Madanga on the Vyasa Sun. He never did that anywhere, hardly. So he played Madanga. So the devotee who gave him the Madanga asked him the question, and the ladies were all in the back, kind of like head down, like, oh, he's going to say book distribution. Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Huh? No answer. So, yeah, what would please you the most? Again, I said the Maharajas were kind of like, oh, here we go. Because they were all pujaris, cooking. And Prabhupada, without even thinking, said, that you love Krishna. And the Maharajas went crazy. Because they realized that book distributor, cook, whoever you were, you can love Krishna. And the expression of that love, Prabhupada defined love as not just what Rupa Goswami says, but if you love someone, you want to talk about them. Like I love my grandkids. I want to talk about. I love my son. I love many people, many devotees. If we truly love Krishna, book distribution is just a way in which we can tell people about the person we love. You tell them, you know, we love Krishna. It's very special. So Srila Prabhupada gave all of us the blessing. Here in Atlanta, just love Krishna. Hare Krishna.
And on the same note, I was thinking with regard to the question that Rasik Rai Prabhu asked this morning of Bhrigupati Prabhu, that how do you reconcile that Prabhupada said book distribution is the most important thing, but you know, sometimes he said other things are also the most important thing. This is a question you can ask Shrutakirti Prabhu next time you go to Vrindavan, because he can speak from his personal experience. But I recently heard him say that Srila Prabhupada was, it's true, he was like that. If he would go to Chicago, he would tell them this is the most important temple in the world. He would go to New Vrindavan and tell them this is the most important project in our society. He would go to Australia, everywhere he went, he would tell the same thing. And the fact of the matter, it was always true, that Prabhupada really did feel that everything is the priority. Everything is a priority. You have to do all of it. And we have to give our whole lives for that purpose, because it's not an easy job. But everything has the priority. But actually, the basis is the books. We always say books are the basis. Because everything that we're doing in our society, it has no authority without these books. And so, you know, it's all important. But somebody has to distribute these books, and thank God that we have Krishna life.
Actually, if you think about it too, one last point here is the Lord Chaitanya's period, of course, is Harinam. And if you wanted to hear any of the philosophy, you had this symbol for Katha. Can you imagine, you know, I'd like to have a copy of Bhagavatam. Is it possible 500 years ago? Very difficult. They're all plates, isn't it? So actually, this is Krishna's arrangement. The printing press, $5. Everyone can have one. You could $5 back 500 years ago get you a Bhagavatam. So extreme mercy at this point. It looks like these things were made for the karmis, but actually it was made for us. Flying, traveling, cars, books cost nothing. It's for us, it's not for them. It looks like it's for them. And then at one point, he's going to wind it all down. You see? So it's really for spreading Krishna consciousness. It's not for, they think it's their thing that they invented.
Thank you. I was ecstatic.
Summarize. Janma Shata Kari Karo Para Upaka. make your life successful in Krishna consciousness and try to help others. Very simple formulas, huh? These Prabhupada would say again and again and again. And as we heard this morning from Bhrigupati Prabhu, that the Karo Para Upaka, that's also sadhana. He's actually quoting Prabhupada. Yeah. Jai Hare Krishna. So what's the program now? Sandhya Arati. Yeah. I think we're all experiencing the purification of even talking about Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution and the association of devotees. We have 2, 3, 4. We have 500 years of devotional service in this line here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.